It's been a weird week. I was at the London Super Comic Convention last weekend, and I was selling these. Um, they're two sort of comic-y graphic things that I wrote for my Cycle 2 series, and you know, I thought I'd challenge myself to, get out there and sell my work and promote it. There's going to be a link down below to online store if you want to grab a copy. But yeah, it was it was an event, if you know what I mean. There was so much going on, and I kept almost zoning out and dissociating. But whenever I did, and felt like I was just gonna black out, I kept having my shadow kind of say to me, "Stay with it," or "Don't." And it was kind of weird because it was kind of like, for the first time, it was working in tandem with me. Like, we were aiming towards the same goal. That um, there's me trying to get some work out there, and of course, it's messages in that work. So it tried to help me remain focused, so I could help get that message out. And yeah, so it went well, and I walked away feeling inspired by it and wanting to really get back into creating again, and rather than have it feel like just a chore, um, it felt like something I really wanted to do. Um, so yeah, but since then, um, I've kind of had an increase in in stuff, really. Like, um, the other night, I was sat at home and I just suddenly got this feeling of intense dread, and I kind of it's just, I always associate it with when something's going to happen, like the shadow's going to be pissed off with me or whatever. And I kept seeing more of the shadow. But I think the most sort of unsettling part has been that I've started hearing these new voices. They're not aimed at me, and they're not talking to me, and they're not talking about me. It's just I keep catching these snippets of conversation, really. Like, like I'm hearing part of a conversation, like someone's just sat there talking, not to me, to someone, and then a bit later I'll have another voice saying something else. Like, it's not like I'm going to the shop today, not that, but something along those kind of lines. And yeah, it's there's a bit where I was in my bedroom and I was kind of just getting ready for bed, and I heard some girl kind of scream something or shout something, and it's just something that's I had really infrequently, oh, not this year, like a few years back, and it kind of stopped, and now it seems to have come back. And it's not constant, but I'm aware of it. And so I told my therapist on Thursday, and as a result, I now have to go for another med review, because alongside that, all the kind of aggressive commands and telling me what to do are kind of there again. And although I feel in control, they're obviously concerned that I'm losing it. That I'm not as in control, and they need this drugs and whatever. And yeah, so I have to kind of sit and think if that's what I want to do, or if it's the right time to go back on meds. But I don't know. It's just that I feel that I've just got back to feeling myself, and whether or not that's wrong in their eyes, it's still myself. It's still me, and I don't really want to fuck my head up again, like I did, you know. So I just have to see how it goes. So Monday was a long morning for me. I had group, and I ended up snapping at someone in group because they'd been away for quite a long time, and then they came back and were complaining because three of us have kind of bonded better, and it was kind of like, well, you know, sorry if we bothered to turn up every week and you didn't. Um, so yeah, so that kind of, I snapped at her, then ended up zoning out, and they were like, oh, you zoned out, didn't you? And I was like, yes. And I was explaining how I was kind of nervous about this med review, you know, because of the new voices I've heard, you know, it has concerned me because, you know, it's not, like I said, it's not voices talking to me or at me. It's just sort of, you know, voices, like me hearing into someone else's conversation. And yeah, it's just fucking annoying, really. But yeah, so that was that. And then I had the med review with a new psychiatrist that I've never even met before. And to begin with, I was a little bit annoyed because she admitted that she hadn't read all my notes, but then was like, well, you know, there's quite a lot of them, so fair enough, you know. But yeah, so I was telling her, well, she was more like, well, I hear that there's a few voices that you've heard that are quite regular, and you've had them since you're like adolescents. But we are aware that at the moment they are kind of working with you, and you know, they're not being horrible, they're being nice. Um, so yeah, so it was kind of like they asked me again what I wanted to do, and like I, I, I don't want to get rid of them. You know, I've had them, no matter what they say, and no matter what, how they say that having these voices has kind of hindered my life and stunted it every now and again, or not now and again, but stunted it. I don't want to get rid of them. I just want, you know, like I say, a bit more sort of control over it, and so it's not just there all the time. It's just sort of, yeah, you know. So I said that, and she kind of mentioned put me back on risperidone. But I was like, no, I just have too much of a fear of even a name. The name just makes me want to vomit because of how I felt on it and how low I got, and the idea of even touching one of those pills, even if it's a pathetically small dose, then no, they can fuck off. Um, so she did say that, you know, at the moment the voices are nice and being friendly to you, but in the future they will turn on you again. And if they do, regardless of how you feel, we might have to put you back on risperidone because we know it works and blah 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. But the one they've decided to prescribe me this time is got a name that I really can't pronounce, and it's aripiprazole, or Abilify is its brand name, which kind of sounds like a special move, doesn't it? Abilify! But, boom! No, but yeah, they put me on that, so I'm trying it out, you know. I can't, you know, just resist everything, so I started that on, you know, Tuesday. So it's my second day on it, and it's just made me so fucking sleepy. It's like no matter what I do, I'm just like, oh, and yeah, asleep. And yeah, so I don't know any other effects yet because, you know, it takes a couple of days. But yeah, so that's it. I am currently back on the meds. So I've just come from one of the hardest sessions I've had for a while. Because last week I asked them to, how I said that I know why they're giving me medication to stop me hearing stuff, but they're not telling me why it is that I see or hear things. So I think today they've started the process of doing that, basically. I had to sit and tell them everything from like the age of 4. And we got up to about 13. 13, 15, something like that. So I think they're going to go away and use that to kind of help me understand what's wrong with me. But obviously it was talking about the shadow and the darkness and everything related to it, and I know that I'm going to get punished again now, because I haven't been punished for a while, but I know it's going to come, because as I was sat there, she was like, "Oh, you look really agitated." I'm like, "Well, I am, because I know they're pissed off. I can feel that they're pissed off." So we'll see how that goes. In other news, I'm going to be put on an antidepressant, and being put on Prozac, to kind of counter any negative effects of the medication. Just to prevent what happened last time from happening, so I don't go on another massive downer. So hopefully that will work, and I won't get down. But as for the aripiprazole, it's just made me really kind of sleepy and a bit restless. So hopefully those will sort themselves out too. So in one-to-one yesterday, I told them some more new stuff that they didn't know about. Well, one of them they kind of did know about, but obviously they'd forgotten and hadn't bothered to really take it in, and that was, they asked why I find it so hard to go to an unfamiliar place on my own, or to go to places where there's loads and loads of people. And part of that is due to anxiety, but the other part is I just don't know what's real and what's not. I have times where I'll have someone come running up to me on the street screaming at me, and I'll be like, "Whoa, fuck the fuck," and there's no one there. Or I'll go to cross a road, and then I'll see a car just speeding towards me, and it's like, "Whoa, fuck." And it's like, if I go to somewhere I don't know, I have no fucking clue what's real. Like the other week, there was this random guy who just started talking to me on the last train home, and for all I know, he might not have even existed, and it could have just been me sat there talking to myself, just looking like a complete crazy person. So they were a bit like, "Oh, well, we didn't realise it was that bad." And I'm like, yes, that's why I'm keep myself to myself, and only go places that I know well. And that obviously led on to the idea of how my paranoia of when I see people and they're looking at me, I think that they can tell that I'm not in the right body, and they know, and it makes me feel like I'm a criminal, in this sort of look that people give you when you're you've broken into someone's house and stole something from them. But you know, and then she was like, well, that makes, you do realise that means that you believe you can mind read. And I was like, no, how? And she goes, because you're so adamant that you believe that's what they are thinking, which means technically you are mind reading what they're thinking. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, well, what do you think when we spend time together? Because I spend a lot of the session looking at you. And I was honest, and I said, it feels like you're foraging around inside my head. And, you know, that you take bits of information out, which is why my mind goes blank. So when she asked me a question, like, how are you feeling now? And I go to think about it, and, you know, there's just nothing there. And she's like, oh, you're anxious. It's just like she's gone into my mind and just gone and taken that bit of information out and left me without it. And, you know, it just feels like all the time she's just there, like someone's rummaging through my head like this, like through my brain, like looking for answers, and then just taking the answers before I even have a chance to find them myself. And yeah, and like she was like, Dom, I can't mind read, you know, all I can pick up on is your body language or what I believe you might be thinking. And she was, I don't know for definite if it's real. And, you know, being told that kind of gave me a bit of, you know, comfort, I think the word would be, that, you know, like, oh shit, like, thankfully she can't read my mind. But then as soon as I had that thought, like, one of my voices went, the fucking bitch is lying. Well, the actual words were, the fucking bitch is bullshitting. And then it just pulled it back into question again of like you know, is she reading my mind? And, you know, she turned around and was like, well, why have you never told us this before? And my answer was, because I thought you were reading my mind. And, you know, it's just, I could just tell by the look on her face that it's this look of, oh shit, here's more stuff that's wrong with this guy. So yeah, so let's see how, you know, that nugget of information's like processed by my team. So yeah, so that was that really. And I started my Prozac today, so that means I'm on 2 meds now, which I'm okay with. You know, they're helping a bit, so that's all good. And yeah, that's it. Apart from the other night, my shadow attacked me 4 times. It was actually really fucking horrific. Like, it pinned me down face first onto the bed, and I was like, fuck off, and like screaming, like, fuck off at the top of my voice, and I managed to get it off me. And then I turned round, and then it was just straight on me again, throttling me. And, you know, as it throttled me, it was just like, no one gives a shit who you are, like, no one gives a fuck about you. And I was just like, just fuck off, and managed to fight it off. And then it kind of left, and then a little bit later I kind of just turned round again, and it was just stood there, and it just jumped at me saying the same shit. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck, you know. It's been a while since that's happened, and it's kind of like, you know, 4 times in one sort of evening. It's just, it was just too much. So yeah, so now I've got to watch to make sure that, you know, it's like what the therapist said, or the psychologist said, that, you know, the voices were nice to me at one point, but they will turn nasty again, and it seems that, you know, they have. So